Welcome to Inside the Battle, Volume 4. My name is Dustin Browder. I'm the Game Design Director on Lord of the Rings, The Battle for Middle-earth. Today we're going to talk to you about our new base building strategy and resource gathering systems that we've got in place that will really affect the way you play our next real-time strategy game.
This is Inside the Battle.
So we've got a brand new system of building bases. One of the things that EA has really encouraged us to do in this product is to innovate, and try to create a brand new experience in real-time strategy games. And one of our goals overall is to try to remove a lot of the micromanagement that players have in real-time strategy games now, so they spend more of their time focused on high-level strategy and less on their time on finding individual units or on trying to click really fast in order to beat and defeat their enemies. So one of the things that we've done, as you can see here, is we've got these plots that are inside your castle and they're outside your castle. You can just click on these plots, and almost immediately you can see the options for what you want to build there comes up almost right underneath your mouse. And you can just move your mouse just a tiny bit to decide what it is you want to build in this plot. And this makes these plots extremely easy to use. You don't need to go find a dozer. You don't need to go find a peon or some other character to build your base. You can just click on your base and upgrade it in however way that you want to upgrade your base. The ease of use factor is not just for the casual players who may be coming to real-time strategy for the first time because they love Battle for Middle-earth. The ease of use is really powerful for us because as a serious hardcore RTS player, you're going to have lots and lots of things to do out on the field of battle. You're going to have perhaps hundreds of soldiers. You may have half a dozen heroes that you have to manage and control, and each one of these heroes has 3 or 4 different powers that can be fired at different times at the appropriate moment or at the not appropriate moment. So you've got a lot going on out in the field that you need to concentrate on and not be concentrated so much on exactly where you're going to put each building, what's going to happen with each building. You need to be able to go out and deal with the strategic problems that are happening on the field of battle. Thing we're trying to add to base building in the Battle for Middle-earth, you can see here, is we're adding building veterancy. This is the concept that as your building is used, it gains veterancy and becomes more powerful. A second level barracks might be able to build additional troops that a level 1 barracks could never build. A second level barracks might build those same additional troops more cheaply than level 1 barracks has ever had before. So as the player uses these barracks, they gain experience points and go up in levels. So you as a player have to make choices early on about the kinds of units you want to have later in the game. And these will affect your strategies early in the game. This building veterancy is also a very powerful tool for strategy for us because it means that some of your buildings are much more important than they ever were before. So in our previous Command & Conquer games, if you built a barracks, say, for a couple of $100 and somebody blew it up, hey, no biggie. I'll just plunk down another couple $100 and I'll build another barracks. It's all just good to go. But in our game now, in Battle for Middle-earth, if you build a barracks and you've built, 50, 60 soldiers out of that barracks, and that barracks is now a level 2 or level 3 barracks, and it now has access to different troops that otherwise you can't get, and somebody wants to come in and blow that barracks up. This is a real loss. You can't just buy it back. You have to earn it back, which means that the difficult decision of does this barracks live inside your castle or does this barracks live outside your castle has a really significant impact on your play experience.
Be brave, men!
So we have a number of different ways for players to gather resources in our game, and each of these ways has a really significant effect on the kinds of troops the player can really afford to build. Now all of these resources are gathered in different ways. This resource is gathered by killing enemy troops or by finding monsters, maybe goblins or trolls or just wargs that are loose on the map and killing them. To gather this resource, you probably want some very powerful heroes or at least some very tough troops to go out there and deal with those guys. If you want to gather this resource as your primary form of research, and it can be very lucrative to do, you need to sort of invest early in your troops and maybe not invest so much in the other 3 possible resources. You can also invest in steel. Now if you build a blacksmith, as you can see here, or if you build a forge, this building will start creating steel for your side, which goes into your generic resource pool, but it has a real impact on the kinds of forces you can build because each steel mill, each forge, each blacksmith reduces the cost of upgrades and certain troop types. So if you have, say, 4 forges, all of your upgrades are 4 times more cheap than they would be ordinarily if you didn't have these forges. You can also invest in food, which you get from farms or from slaughterhouses. You build these things inside your base, much as you would build a forge or a blacksmith. But these, again, if you have 3 or 4, you get a cumulative bonus for your farms for the kinds of troops that you can build. So for instance, if I am a Gondor player and I've chosen to build 4 farms, I might have as much as 40 or 50% off all of my infantry costs. This means I'm an infantry player. I'm going to build a lot of archers, I'm going to build a lot of soldiers, I'm going to try to beat you with those. On the other hand, if I'm that same Gondor player, but instead I've chosen to build 4 blacksmiths, now I have a huge bonus on siege weapons, I have a huge bonus on building various upgrades, and so I will probably have a much smaller, much more dangerous force than the player who chose to build nothing but farms. And the final kind of resource that's only really available to the villains in the game, only available to the forces of Isengard and Mordor, is of course the lumber mills, which they can use to chop down trees. And lumber mills are kind of a big wins, big loss investment for the bad guys. But of course the lumber mills are far from your base. They're far from any safe haven. They have no proper defenses, and they're completely exposed to enemy attack. And so the evil player has to kind of decide when's the appropriate moment to go for lumber. When am I going to be able to do this without just getting my lumber mill blown up and all my guys killed? And what can I really protect? And of course with knights and eagles and Rohirrim and these heroes just running around everywhere, you never really know exactly when that moment is. And so the Mordor player has to make a really careful, really calculated strategic decision as to when the right moment for him is to expand into the lumber market and to begin cutting down trees and to use that as a kind of resource.
Power of the Enemy is coming this November.
EA Games.